So the first question I've got for you is just sort of to tell us in your own words about Illustrated by Charlie. Just
okay.
What's it all about for any listeners that haven't seen you before?
Okay. So I started it as a bit of a passion project about 5 years ago.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is. It is a long time ago, but I never really gave it that much. I've not been like hammering it for 5 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I started the account up. This is going off on a tangent, but I started the account up because I was working in recruitment. And I hated it. Like, it wasn't for me. Like, I did fashion design at uni, and then when I graduated, I just could not get a job for love nor money.
It is a difficult industry.
So hard to get into. I did loads of free internships, everything. And then I fell into recruitment. It was fashion recruitment. Mm-hmm. But I fell into recruitment, and it's not creative. It's just not, like, do you know what I mean? So I started it as a bit of a passion project just to kind of, because I didn't want to fall out of, like, because I've always been creative. So I didn't want to, like, lose it.
Lose the mojo.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to lose it. So I started it as an illustration account, but at the time, I was really scared for, like, anyone to find out about it, especially within recruitment, because I didn't want them to be like, oh,
what are you doing?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different, like, kettle of fish as recruitment. So I like made the account like super private, blocked everyone.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's
it started.
so
Yeah. So it was private. I didn't tell anyone about it. Like, didn't tell my mates about it. Like, nothing about it for like a year. And it was literally the only reason that account existed is so that I could draw stuff and just, do you know what I mean? And just have somewhere to like document it.
Yeah.
So it was for you?
It was for me. Yeah. It was literally just so that I didn't lose creativity, because why am I talking about recruitment? Where did I go from this?
Oh, right. So yeah, Illustrated by Charlie. So it was in your own words, like how you would explain Illustrated by Charlie. So in the beginning, it was private.
Yeah,
and then...
so it started as a private thing, and then it's just kind of developed and grown over time. And then slowly I started getting like a few brands contacting me, and then I just kind of like developed. But the thing is, like, I knew people who worked for those brands, so that's how that happened. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't.
But still, that's amazing.
Give yourself some credit.
No, yeah, but like it wasn't just like, oh, I'm incredible, so all these brands. Do you know what I mean?
You are,
but that's why. Do you know what I mean? And then slowly over time, that started happening. And then it just kind of picked up, and then when the pandemic hit, and obviously no one had anything else to do.
Were you furloughed?
No, I wasn't furloughed. I was like the only person. Basically, me and a few other people on the team were the only people not furloughed. I was doing like 15-hour days. So yeah, I wasn't furloughed. So I was doing like really long days because obviously there was only me and a few other people, and I'd also recently moved teams at work. So it was a like intense time. And then, like, outside of work, you were only allowed outside once a day. Like,
oh yes,
do you
so basically
remember?
you were just working.
Literally just working, like, all day. You were literally allowed outside once a day. So I started like doing more illustrations in the evenings because
that makes sense.
Yeah, because I'd finish work and I'd be like, I need a release. I need to do something that's not my job. Do you know what I mean? And I can't just sit, and I just needed to channel stress somewhere. So I started doing more illustrations, and then I started selling them as prints. And I never ever intended to start selling prints when I started the business. Yeah,
but it is a business.
Yeah.
Whether it's your side hustle or not, you know.
But I never intended to start selling prints. I always just wanted it to be like an as and when thing. Yeah. I've always been like quite like heavy on boundaries. Mm-hmm. So like I always wanted it to be for me and something that I enjoyed doing, and that's why I never wanted to start selling prints, because then I thought it'd get really stressful, which it has.
Also, I must add, I can't relate to the setting boundaries stuff. I have no boundaries
I
whatsoever.
think that's what recruitment did for me. Do you know what I mean? I genuinely think that's what recruitment did for me, because honestly, so when I was in uni, or like the first year after I graduated, I was such a pushover. I was like, yeah, of course I'll do that for you. I'll do it free. Yeah, I'll do it free. Do you know what I mean? That was me.
Maybe I need to go into recruitment.
Honestly, I used to. Honestly, and then when I worked in recruitment, because with recruitment, like, we don't do anything unless it's going to benefit us, which is not always the best way to be.
But in a way it is, like, not just for money, but like Roxanne was saying a couple of episodes ago, if it doesn't give you joy, what is it?
Joy, money or orgasms, it's
that's
not worth
so
your time.
true. Yeah,
and
is
it's not
so
just about
true.
money. Like, if it doesn't bring you joy, like, if it's going to make you sad, you know?
So I think that's where I've kind of moved it along. So I don't really do, like, when it comes to the illustration side of things, I give less of a shit about money.
Yeah.
More about how it makes me feel. So I would never take on a job if I genuinely didn't want to do it.
Do you think that's because you have the stability of an income as well?
Yeah,
then?
so I'm coming at that from a privileged place, and I am aware of that. So, yeah, I've got a full-time job, and a lot of people who work in, like, our industry, this is their full-time job, so I completely appreciate that.
So you're not, if something comes through, you're not then thinking, oh, I need to do this.
Yeah.
So you can say, look, it's not right for me. Which I think is really good, because even though you do have this stability of an income, sometimes working with like a good brand or like doing something can still feel really great. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah. So like if a job comes through and I'm buzzing about it.
Yeah.
Then I'll do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like if something comes through and I'm just like, do you ever get jobs through, right? And the thought of doing them makes you anxious.
Yeah.
I'm quite privileged to be able to not do those.
Yeah, well, it depends on what where the anxiety is rooted from. Because I have jobs come through where I'm anxious because it's such a big job, or it's it's a lot of pressure. So it's like nervous anxiousness. But then I have some other jobs where I'm like, I can tell from the get-go, from the emails, that this is going to be a nightmare and it's not going to be worth my time.
Yeah, like red flags and stuff. You can just
That's
like,
what I mean. Yeah.
Nope.
I think where I'm different, because obviously you have Laura has a full-time, part-time job as well, so you have that stability.
Kind of.
Whereas, like, sometimes I feel like I take jobs on because I have bills that need to be paid.
Yeah.
And
well, I still do, yeah.
I really, like, I don't know if I don't know how to explain this without sounding like a dickhead. I don't think the job is right for me, but
at the
my
end
bank
of the
balance
day,
needs it.
you need to pay bills.
I have a dog that's allergic to everything and needs the vets constantly. So
exactly. Exactly. But like that's the right thing to do. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to sit here and be like, don't take those jobs on. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not going to. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the right thing to do, and I would be doing the exact same thing. So I think I'm quite lucky in that respect to have. It's hard in some ways. It's like, fuck me, I'm burnt out all the time. So it is.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Both of that. Because your shop's so busy as well. And I feel like I remember seeing on your stories, you were like, I'm going to have to shut the shop this weekend because I've not got enough time to pack orders. And I was looking at it and I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Your shop, do you have a website? Or is you have a website?
Yeah, so I've got a website and I've got an Etsy as well. And I find, so started on Etsy and then I opened a website. And I kind of started neglecting my Etsy when I opened my website because I can't deal with two. Do you know what I mean?
It is a bit stressy. I'm the same.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with me at the minute. Like, this past year, since the pandemic, I used to be like fucking Iron Woman. I could deal with so much stress. I'd be like, yeah, pile it on. Like, I could deal with so much stress. And now, the slightest bit of stress, I'm like, nah. Absolutely not.
But that's your boundaries. You're like, and now I know that it's going to burn me out, so no.
Yeah. So I can't deal with two. So I started neglecting my Etsy and then only going on my website. And then I realised this is probably going to like the comparison culture. But you know when people are like, oh, I've hit 10,000 sales on my Etsy. I was like, fuck me. Like, I've not had anything close to that.
10,000?
But I kept seeing like accounts saying stuff like that. And I was like, is it Etsy? Is Etsy, do you know what I mean? Because obviously Etsy like boosts your stuff.
It's very hit and miss.
It is hit and miss. So
Yeah.
I started paying a bit more attention to Etsy whilst not neglecting my website. But I find that I can't deal with both of them at the same time. I really struggle. But again, that comes from a place of massive privilege to be able to just be like, I'm not going to do this for a few weeks. So in the summer, summer just gone, 2021, I honestly felt like I were having like a nervous breakdown. So like I would just burn the fuck out. Like everything was just
too much.
And then I was like, stuff was coming through in the shop, and I shut the shop, and it was like, I've gotten too many orders. Make no mistake, mate, I won't get that many orders. Like, it's not like I was getting like fucking hundreds of orders and I couldn't deal with it. I just couldn't deal with anything at that point.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like every order that came through, I was like, fuck.
Not another one.
Do you know what I mean?
That's so interesting, that perception though that Laura had when she obviously brought up this
and I
conversation.
feel bad that you thought that now.
But because you shouldn't feel bad, because like I wasn't like, oh no, do you know?
Yeah.
I was like, good for her, like that's amazing.
Yeah, but that like it wasn't the case. Like it's not like I was getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of orders that I just couldn't. Yeah. I was so overwhelmed. It was that I was overwhelmed in every aspect of my life.
And these were just added.
These were just added, and I just kind of like, I thought to myself, right, so many people have a full-time job, and like I've got a pretty good full-time job as well. Like it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I've like, if you'd have told me like 5 years ago that all I did was my full-time job, I'd have been buzzing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What is it that you do?
So I'm a brand marketing lead. So for a fashion company based in Manchester.
I love that. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. So
look at this cool girl. She's amazing.
Like, tell me more.
So what I do for a full-time job, it's a bit of like a complicated job. So it's like kind of hard to explain what I do, but essentially, what I do is I work with like the buyers and the designing team to talk about like what products are coming out and when. So like fashion, so it'll be like, I don't know, in autumn we're releasing knitwear.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like just off the top of my head. And then I'll go to all the other kind of different teams within the business. So like the trading team, social team, I work really closely with the social team, like influencer team are like, right, how are we going to market this collection or like this like range?
Yeah.
I'll then write like a shoot brief and work with the creative team to talk to like basically plan how it's going to be shot, like the campaign, how we're going to talk about this like campaign across all the different touch points. But then also I'll work, so that's BTL, so that's below the line. So below the line is anything that's not on billboards, it's not on TV,
right, yeah.
It's not on the radio, anything like that. So
why do they call it below the line?
Because, I don't know, to be honest.
Makes it sound like it's not worth anything, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so below the line
line
is basically anything that's on the channels that we run ourselves, so like our website, our social media.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's below the line. Above the line is TV, radio, billboards. So I also work on that. So I started out on social media, and then the job came up in brand about a year and a half ago.
What did your social media job entail? Just running like the Instagram?
Yeah, so
I
went from recruitment. That's kind of also why I started the illustration thing, because I wanted to get into like some sort of campaigns or like marketing or something. I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do because I didn't know what all the jobs were, but I knew that I wanted to get into something like campaigny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to get into it, and then I like basically stalked loads of people on LinkedIn and like saw like what they'd done to get to where they were. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I thought, right, social media sounds like an in.
Yeah.
To get into this.
Yeah.
So I started doing the illustrations and then posting about it on social media. I made the social account unprivate but kept everyone at work blocked. So I made the social unprivate, and then I started like building like a bit of a social media portfolio. So I'd make like social media posts, like, you know, like back in the day when you used to run social media accounts and it'd be like inspirational quote on the social media.
Yeah.
Like we're talking like 2017 times.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I made like loads of them. I'm not a graphic designer, but I made like loads of different stuff like that, and then I reached.
When you said back in the day, then I was like, that's literally what I do.
No, you know the kind that I mean. You know the kind I mean. It's just like
the golden marble.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. If that's your vibe.
No diss, but you know what I mean. So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Hashtag girl boss. Hashtag she EO.
She believed she could, so she did.
I was really subscribed to that like a year and a half ago, and then now I'm like, why are we putting like female like nouns in front of everything and being like, oh, boss bitch? Why is she just not a CEO?
Yeah.
Why does she have to be a she.
Yeah.
I'm like...
Can I just say, like, massive tangent, this guy that I follow, what's he called? He's so funny. So, like, one of the posts that I saw the other day was, spokeswoman is a large term and it covers both men and women. And then it'll say, Jack, male sportswoman. Stupid things like that. Yeah. But like, literally everything is like flipped, and it's so funny to read it. But really, like, I feel like we realise it, but it makes you realise it even more when you see it like that.
I am honestly like, people take the piss out of me because I think my family think I'm like this fucking militant feminist. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, my family do.
But I'm not. I'm just normal. Like, I'm not. Well, I am. I don't know why I'm like pretending I'm not. I am a fucking militant feminist. But I don't think that I'm anything out of the ordinary. Like, I just think I'm a normal person.
I think you are. And I think that we go around.
Yeah, it's like an echo chamber.
Yeah. But I'll hear things. So, for example, me and my boyfriend were sat having we were having some lunch in this like Thai restaurant the other day. And I heard there was like an older couple on the table across from us. She kept saying female doctor. And I was like, you know when you're just listening, I was like, that's interesting that she keeps saying female doctor. And I was like, when did females become like, when was that a thing? Because I was watching Downton Abbey recently and there were no female doctors in the 1920s.
When did females become...
Well, I googled it, and apparently in the 40s it became more of a thing, but it was still frowned upon.
So, this is something, hot take right here, this is something that I really, really struggle with. So, I'm going to use the word excuse. When the excuse comes awry, it's like, it was a different time back then.
But where's she been
Where
since?
have you been, hon?
Yeah.
Where have
Could
you been?
not agree more.
Where have you been?
Are you stuck? Are you stuck there?
In a fucking chamber for the past, like... 60 years.
Yeah, you need to fucking roll. Need to roll with the times here.
I completely
like
whenever
agree.
I hear it's a different time, I'm like,
yeah, it was, but
where have you been?
Yeah,
but this is 2022 now.
Yeah,
and there's female doctors everywhere and male doctors, but you don't call them male doctors a male doctor.
Well, like we've said, like we surround ourselves with people who are like-minded and stuff like that. So obviously, it's going to be more present. Whereas these older people who aren't surrounding themselves with things like that, I get that. Like, I don't want to stand there and be like naive to the fact that some people just don't speak to younger people. I get that, but then you're listening to the radio, like. I don't know. I'm super mixed about it, but I'm like, but where have you? What do you mean? Like, I don't
you've been to the hospital and you've had a female doctor probably for about 20 years plus.
So like, what? Why? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bit like I do think like where have you been?
I think you're right though, in that that's the people that we surround ourselves with. So like, when I go home, like back to where I'm from, I can tell that I surround myself with different people. Do you know what I mean? The opinions are different. I'm not going to go into it too much.
Yeah.
But the opinions are different.
Relate more.
And I find that it is true that it is just the kind of different people that I have been surrounding myself with. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you realise... Like, I just think that everyone thinks the same way as this.
And as well with, like, the algorithm and stuff, like, I think that everybody else is seeing the same things
No,
I am.
that's just what you're reacting with.
Exactly. So it's like, because I follow all of these, like openly feminist, pages and stuff. I'm seeing all these articles that are coming out. I'm reading up on all these different things and all these new movements and, like, within, like, the trans community and now, like the acceptance of it. And I'm now realising, like, speaking to other people who aren't on my algorithm, that they're not seeing this and they're not being made aware and they're not being educated on it, but they're not. It's kind of like, when you see, it's like, I don't want to, desensitised isn't the right word, but when you're seeing something over and over and over again, it's easier for it to become normal than when you're seeing things come up in media once in a while and it's for a negative connotation. Do you know what I mean? So because I'm seeing all these different things, it's a natural progression in where I'm going in my mind and where I'm going and when I'm learning new things and when I'm discovering things and when I'm speaking to different people from diverse backgrounds and stuff. Like, I'm growing as a person because I'm letting myself grow as a person, because I'm being all these things are coming at me, so I have no other option than to engage with them, whereas people who aren't on my algorithm. And
it's good to look at it in that kind of view, because I think that's quite a compassionate way to look at it. But for me, sometimes, I know you were saying earlier, like, you're such a nice person, but like, for me, sometimes I'm like, I think this way because it's right, and if you don't think this way, you're wrong. You're fucking wrong. You're a racist. Get out my face.
Yeah.
And I'll get really, really, especially
I know exactly
like,
what you mean.
I don't want to like, you know, tarnish my family here, but like, obviously, my family's really big, and like sometimes we'll have different views, and like I can see the looks on their faces when they realise I'm gonna come at them.
Yeah.
But this is it.
I know.
Are you? So is that where you were coming from before?
Feel you. So, do you know what? Not even just my family. Like, I get the piss taken out of me so much, like, about being, like, a feminist. Like, as soon as something's, like, I'll hear something in the street and, like, did you hear that? That's very interesting. Male privilege. Like that. Or, like, yeah, just, like, anything. Like, I was looking out of our, because we live in a flat and it's, like, got 2 corner windows. And it was dark, so it was, like, 9 p.m. And it was dark. And there's this guy who lives over from us. And he goes for a run every night at 9 p.m. What does that mean to you? Male privilege. Is that not male privilege?
Yeah, that is male privilege.
So I saw him and I always see him lacing his shoes up, and I was like to my boyfriend, I was like, I'd love to be able to go for a run at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Like that. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, that is male privilege if ever I've seen it.
Yeah, that is
I've seen it
to me.
Yeah. And my boyfriend's like, oh right, yeah.
I don't know what to say, do they?
Because he knows I'm right. Like he totally agrees.
Like, yes, love.
Yeah, but I'm like, fucking pricks.
Yeah, like you don't know how good you've got it.
You don't fucking
you bastards.
know. Yeah.
And then I got accused of hating men, and I'm like,
yeah. As soon as like anything gets said, I'm like, you're a white, able-bodied male, so fuck.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been with one for the past 8 years. And but you're different.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're one of the good ones, but also you can't have an opinion on this. Sorry. See ya. End of discussion. I'm right.
I'm always like, you're a cisgender white male.
Yeah. So. It was like, okay.
Yeah.